Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back. This is the August rendition of the latest news for Total War Dawnless Days. We've got quite a few things to cover, but I am just going to look at the biggest changes for version 1.1, which is coming up hopefully quite soon. So one of the first big ones is the Ents are almost ready for the Dawnless Days. The team have just given us another look at the models, and there's actually been a lot more revealed behind the scenes. We've got a better look at Gundabad's building tree and faction mechanics, new information on the Kingship of Rhovanion, and some rather interesting details about the units that you'll be able to unlock going through. And of course, on top of that, we'll look at a few of the performance changes coming up afterwards, latest on the campaign AI, and what is coming after 1.1. Without further ado, let's get cracking. So, let's get started with the first thing that I brought up at the start of the video, the Ents. Showing off the new Ent models, and they're looking absolutely enormous. And what's important here is that we're not just looking at some early concept that might eventually make it into the game. These things are right around the corner. The Ents have been fully modelled and implemented into the game, and we're just waiting on the devs to get that final little polish, those last little tweaks, before we're going to see them in one of the coming updates. There's going to be some very unhappy orcs when Fangorn starts fighting back. Our second point relates to Gundabad and the army that we've got approaching us on the horizon. Gundabad is shaping up to be one of the most distinctive factions coming in 1.1. The faction preview gives us a pretty good idea of the campaign fantasy. Have a look, this is straight from the devs, straight from the Discord. If you're not in that Discord, get yourself in there. It contains all the best, latest news for Dawnless Days. The Great Eye has revealed himself. Gundabad is beginning to stir, and the orcs are looking to repopulate the mountain and expand beyond it. But there's a problem. Gundabad has enormous armies, and enormous armies need feeding. And that is where the new faction mechanics come in. So of course we've got the Gundabad faction trait, and it's called Forces of the Cold North. There's a lot packed into this. First things first, the Warmongers gives Gundabad 15% additional movement range, while reducing upkeep by 10% for 5 turns. After looting, sacking, or raising a settlement. So already the message is pretty clear, keep scrapping. Then, Gundabad is also immune to winter and mountain attrition and gains 10 morale during the winter, which makes perfect sense for a faction living in the far north. But then we get to the important one, plunder. In the description on the Discord it simply says, satisfy the thirst for loot to keep the populace in check. And that tells us something really important about how Gundabad is supposed to operate. You aren't meant to sit comfortably in your mountain fortress. You're meant to go out, take what you need, and destroy anyone getting in your way, keeping that war machine ticking along. And finally, there's diminished numbers, which means Gundabad's buildings generate lower income. If you needed a further reason to be going out and plundering, now you've got one. Up next we've got the Gundabad building tree. And that philosophy kind of carries over. There's a huge amount going on what we can see from the screenshot. We've got the expected orcish military infrastructure, recruitment and weapon production, but also chains dedicated to things like food, labour, beasts, trolls, siege equipment, and the wider industrial machine needed to keep Gundabad's armies supplied. And when you put this together with the faction trait, the design philosophy becomes pretty obvious. Gundabad isn't supposed to be a wealthy kingdom sitting safely behind its walls. It's a military society that needs to expand to sustain itself. The more territory you take, the more opportunities you have to plunder, and the more your armies can keep growing. So if you fancy playing a faction where the best economy is apparently taking someone else's economy, Gundabad might be right up your street. Heading slightly south of Gundabad, we have the Kingship of Rhovanion mechanic, which applies to the Dale and Dorwinion. The team recently showed off some unique and unfamiliar unit cards appearing in King Bran's retinue, and they've confirmed that with the upcoming Kingship of Rhovanion mechanic, players will gain access to the Rhovanion Foot Knights, some elite heavy infantry, and some Rhovanion riders, some swift spear cavalry. And these aren't just generic reskins. The preview footage shows off the scale of these forces, and it gives us a really good idea of what this mechanic is trying to represent. Dale isn't simply getting another couple of units. The Kingship of Rhovanion gives the player access to wider military force representing all the peoples and kingdoms of Rhovanion. and we've actually got another fascinating look at how the system can work through the province previews. Take Northern Rhovanion, for example. The province capital is Danimar, and it is owned by Balchoth, but by controlling the capital or being allied with its owner provides faction-wide benefits. That includes a 10% reduction to construction costs through the Commissioning Public Works Edict, double the repair rate for damaged buildings, and most importantly for us today, access to additional recruitment. So the kingship mechanic isn't just about having a fancy title, there's a real incentive to bring the wider peoples of Rhovanion into your sphere of influence. And we've seen something similar with Rhovanion, which can provide benefits, including increased additional tax income, trade income, and access to a wine trader building chain and its own recruitment options. So there's a really interesting campaign idea here. Dale's strength isn't necessarily just Dale, it's the complete area of Rhovanion. As well as that, we've got boring stuff like less flashy, but arguably more important, AI fixes. The campaign AI has had a number of tweaks. The team have been working on a number of issues, including factions failing to properly progress their buildings beyond tier 1 and good factions failing to construct barracks. Pretty key. While these aren't exactly going to generate the same excitement, they could make a massive difference to your actual campaigns. Because if the AI can't function properly, then what's the point in all these new flashy units, you know? Almost there at the end of the video, so the question begs, what's coming after 1.1? The developers have previously pointed towards Erebor as a major future update, the Hobbits, Bree, the Shire, the remnants of Arnor, and perhaps eventually the lands of Angmar. We're obviously still looking ahead here, so don't take this as confirmation, but we know that the Hobbits are coming, we know that the Shire is coming. The question of when is the question everybody wants to know the answer to. So, ladies and gents, this is it. That is your latest Dawnless Days news. The Ents are almost ready, Gundabad is looking like a completely unique campaign experience, and the Kingship of Rhovanion is bringing some seriously juicy, powerful new troops to Dale. And honestly, the more we see of 1.1, the more it feels like this update is much more than simply adding 2 new factions. But let me know what you're excited for. Is it the Ents? Is it Gundabad's new mechanics? Is it some bits with LOTR? Or are you already looking ahead and beyond to Erebor, to the Hobbits, to Bree, to the Shire? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Leave me a comment, drop me a like, feel free to subscribe. Keep checking back for more Dawnless Days content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.